I think when I look back on sports organizations that I was a part of before I started my own company, I had a reputation of kind of being an asshole. Like, man, he's the guy on the soccer team that's going to make sure that we like run our full 4 laps and don't jog it in the last half a lap, or he's the guy in the club in college that's going to make sure that we're sticking to the agenda. And then in my company, I'm like, I guess it's kind of like a lot of people who are strict and then they have a child and then they like spoil this child. It's like, whoa, why are you spoiling this child? You were so mean to me when at work, or my sister or whatever. I look at my employees, I'm like, oh well, it's okay. Well, you'll get them next time, buddy. I feel like I can't like lay the hammer down, and maybe laying the hammer down is not like the best way to hold people accountable anyway. But I find that I'm a lot softer than I would have expected of myself. So when you think of like how difficult it is to hold people accountable, what do you struggle with?
I mean, well, one, I want people to like me and want to be, people to be my friends, and I want to create a cult. Like, culture is very important. I want to have a culture where it's okay to make mistakes and where it's fun and you like what you do. But there's a pendulum of that. And I found most often, there's a guilt that comes from not giving enough clarity or training. I am not a good trainer. I'm not a good coach. I live in ideas. Do this thing. Here's this thing. It's really easy. Just do it. And I'm not naturally good at telling people how to do something. Because in my mind, it's easy. And I'm like kind of in the clouds a little bit. I'm like, move a mountain. And my team's like, which mountain? Where? When? How do we move it? How far do you want us to move it? I'm just like, just move it. So one, I am not naturally good at providing clarity of instructions and how, and slowing down enough, to train and teach. It's not my natural bent. And so then when something goes wrong, I'm like, well, it's kind of my fault. I didn't train them. I didn't teach them. I didn't show them what to do. I didn't get into the weeds enough. And so now, because I feel bad about not providing clarity, I also feel bad about holding them accountable. And so you kind of are in this like feedback loop of stuckness. I think that was some of my like early mistakes as a leader, was I didn't provide clarity. And so because I didn't provide clarity, it was hard to hold accountable. And so, I've had to get a lot better at slowing down, providing clarity on what does done look like, what does success look like, what are measurables, and being crystal clear on that so that it becomes much easier to hold you accountable. And then as I've gotten older and as I've hired and fired, hundreds of employees and made a lot of mistakes through that, it's like, it's much easier now for me to just be really blunt and direct in a non-emotive way, in a non-mean way, but around accountability.
Yeah, it's certainly difficult to hold somebody accountable to implement a vision that you didn't properly explain, right? And I think there's a difference between saying, all right, here's my vision, I want you to implement my vision, versus let's create this vision for this company on what we want to see happen. And I want to give you enough latitude to take that vision in a way that you think it ought to go. Right. And I think then you can get some creative solutions, some creative ideas, if you've given somebody the autonomy to make their own decisions. Kind of like what you were talking about, Sanger. You can't come down hard on somebody if they are trying to make decisions aligned with their own strengths, their own creativity, to execute on a vision that you guys have collaborated on.
Yeah, but sometimes I give too much. Like, historically, I've given too much autonomy, when in reality I needed to like squeeze in that ability to make decisions within this box. Here's what winning looks like and success is. It's like too much, without getting really clear.
Well, I think you can give people autonomy if you're clear with what success and failure looks like. If you're clear with how, what the key performance indicators are.
Well, you probably give too much autonomy for the same reason you don't train as much as you think you should sometimes. As you go, you're good with the high level, right, Jamey? All right, I'm out of here. And then you go, I think I do that too, man, is I go, okay, here's the vision. I trust you. And I think that I'm giving people something that they want because it's what I would want. I want to have a lot of autonomy, but my employees don't necessarily want a lot of autonomy. They don't necessarily want
They
a
don't.
ton of responsibility.
Oh,
Yeah.
some people don't want any. Yeah.
And Sanger, you and I have the same culture index profile. We use this thing called culture index. It's a personality assessing tool. It sticks out for all our hiring, all our firing. I give it to all my friends. But you and I are both philosophers, and philosophers are such in the clouds in idea land. We're really good problem solvers. We can problem solve instantly. We're very intuitive, but we're also like, philosophers are notorious for being Tarzan managers. They swing in and say, "Here's where we're going. Follow me. I got this idea. Here's where we're going to go. Here's where we're going to go." And then they swing out, and everyone's like, "What?" But to your point, it's like, Shawn, not some people like I just want you to tell me what to do, and I want to make you happy, and I want to win for the company. And so, but it takes, someone like me and someone like you, who's a Tarzan type of visionary leader. You gotta slow down, and you gotta do the painful work of getting crystal clear on what success is, and what failure looks like as well, which is not, that's not my natural disposition. It's a
I think some of those things are fairly easy to determine what success and failure looks like. If you've got, for example, a salesperson at a real estate firm, I can say, I want this many sales or this much revenue per quarter or whatever. It becomes more challenging when you say, I want you to design this space, or I want you to fabricate this story for this client, because it's the art. I mean, it's not as clear cut how you're defining success or failure unless you've got some metrics on how you're doing that.
Yeah, there is an art to it. It's also really hard too when you've never done it before. When you're like, I got this idea for a business, and here's what we're going to do, and here's the problem we're going to solve, but you've never done it. It's also, you're figuring that out as you go. And you're starting a restaurant, you never started a restaurant. Like, there is a trial and error element to it as well that can make it difficult. You're building the plane as you go.